And if you're watching this screencast, this is Garageband lesson number 1 for Tuesday, March 4th, high school digital video editing class. And so we're going to take a little tour of Garageband today. And I guess it's probably best to start off with what is Garageband and how is it used? Well, first of all, like a lot of Mac apps that we run, they all have a specific purpose. And if you think back to kind of where we started off with Final Cut Express down on the dock here. That is a video editor, very popular with Mac enthusiasts. Another video editor really popular with Mac enthusiasts is iMovie. So, you know, I bring that up because in the old day they used to have this digital hub concept with kind of you in the middle, and then on the outside we had iMovie, or in our case, Final Cut Express. So anyway, Final Cut Express, iMovie, those are used to edit video. Okay, there's another program on your Mac called iPhoto. That was another part of the original iLife suite of apps. iPhoto is used to, manage your photographs and maybe create slideshows. And so in our lifestyle, we edit video, we take pictures, we edit our pictures with iPhoto. GarageBand is Mac's equivalent of the music editor. So it's your app that allows you to contribute music to your presentations. So that's primarily what it is. It's a Mac-specific app that is available on both the computer and a device that allows you to create music. That's all. So anyhow, let's launch GarageBand. As you follow this tutorial, I do want you to do the steps, and it's going to be a couple of day project, so you're going to want to try to follow along and do the things that I do with the tutorial. Also, at the end of each lesson, like before, there will be an Edmodo question type thing, check for understanding. So anyhow, GarageBand is this little guitar down on your dock, and to launch it, you just click it one time, and it'll launch the interface. And your interface might look a little bit different out of the gate because I've got a few projects in the recent projects bin. But let's take a look at the things you can make with GarageBand. Okay, if you went to new project, notice you could choose to go with one of these presets like a piano or an electric guitar or acoustic instrument. And even down below, you can make podcasts. You can make movie soundtracks. You could make your own music with a connected guitar. You can hardwire a guitar or even a keyboard into your Mac. The GarageBand that you're using here is called GarageBand for iLife 11. It's kind of funky. It's version 6. But in this version, you can also get lessons for free on how to play the guitar. In the lesson store, there's some other ones. I didn't get too much into this because I didn't need didn't think I'd be at my point in life learning how to play the guitar. But it's kind of cool that it's out there. And notice also you can even make ringtones for your phone. So you can make some pretty cool stuff with GarageBand. There are two schools of thought with learning software. You can learn by creating brand new, or as in the case of Final Cut Express, the way we learned is we opened up somebody else's project and then got our feet wet that way. So we're going to be doing that as well with GarageBand. We're going to open up a project that somebody else made, and today's lesson is all about just getting to know the interface and then some of these things that go with moving through the interface and understanding how GarageBand works. So anyhow, what we want to do is go to the bottom where it says Open Existing File. And on your desktop, I did have you put a folder for GarageBand stuff. And today's song of choice is called Congo. And we're going to open that up. And it is, like I said, a project created by somebody else. And I guess it's time to get our feet wet with the interface, because the interface is a little bit dazzling at first. But you having the experience you have with Final Cut, these tracks shouldn't be a problem for you. So let's start off first of all with the top. This is called, no surprise to you video experts, that's your playhead. And as you can see, your interface is broken up into tracks. Tracks are off here on the left side. Notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tracks in this particular project. You'll notice some of the tracks are green, some of the tracks are blue. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Those are the different types of instruments, whether they're software instruments or real instruments. Notice that this one is a project created with pre-recorded loops. It's not something that I took a guitar, a guitar or a piano and I recorded my own. So these are all pre-recorded loops. Anyhow, the first thing you should get used to doing in GarageBand is scrubbing. And it's no different than Final Cut. You can scrub left, you can scrub right, and it looks like by default that you do not have audio scrubbing activated. So that's probably a good thing for GarageBand. Along the bottom here, there's a zoom slider. And by using that, you can zoom to see more or less of your timeline. And in fact, this thing over on the right, very much like Final Cut, is your timeline. So the first thing we should probably get used to doing is plugging in headphones and listening to this series of pre-recorded tracks to try to get an understanding of what exactly you have. So playback playback in GarageBand can be done the same way it is in Final Cut. Put your playhead where you want it to start and then hit the space bar. There are controls along the bottom that let you fast forward, speed ahead, jet to the beginning with one click, or as in our case, click here or use the space bar and it'll start playing. So hopefully you just play it once through and try to get a visual for what you're actually hearing. And hopefully by doing this you can see when the various instruments start and then you can hear them. Notice along the bottom there is a master volume switch in case you want to turn it up or down without using the controls on your Macintosh. I think I'm going to do that in fact. Okay, I don't know if you could hear that in the background, that little tick, tick, tick. Let me play that part again towards the end. You might be able to hear the tick. Okay, that's called the metronome. And that little ticking, it does have a place a little bit further down the road when we start doing our own recordings and maybe even start getting into podcasting and stuff. But for a beginner, the metronome is something you may not want to have on. And so therefore, someplace up here you can turn the metronome on or off. I see it. It's under the control tab. It's just a toggle. You can toggle it with Command U or just use the mouse. And you're probably going to want to turn that off to start with so that you can now listen to your music without the ticks. And that's it. And it'll keep playing as though there were music on the outside. So you got a space bar to quit. And then, of course, you could scrub it back. All right. Lesson number 1. Those are your tracks over here. That's your timeline, your playhead, and your space bar. This little icon down here is called the cycle button. And what it does is if you turn this on, whatever region is in yellow is going to be repeatedly played back, and only that part. So if I play from this point on, all I'm going to hear is that region. And watch what happens when it gets to the end of the yellow region. Okay, so to me that's a lot like the play in to out when you mark ins and outs in Final Cut. A lot of carryover between the apps. Anyhow, this playback cycled region can be shortened or lengthened. See how I did that? Just clicked on the outside of it. So you may or may not see that yellow region from time to time. And in order to hide it or show it, you just use this little cycle button down below on the bottom. Okay. A couple other parts of the interface that you should get used to in addition to the playback and such. This little area up here, this is called the beat roller. And this can determine some of these little divisions that you see without having a good musician background. This was recorded, I think, in what they call 4/4. So that's why you see 4 divisions in this little beat right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we assume that those are all what they call quarter notes. But this little drop down right here will let you change it. So for example, if I go down to 1/8 notes, okay, you can see a few more of the beats. So a few more of the notes rather. 1, 2, 3. This is taking me back to woodshop. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we assume those are 8 notes within that one beat. So if I'm wrong here, you music people are going to have to help me out. I have no music background. So there are 2 parts of GarageBand too. I mean, there's a musician standpoint, and I know some of you are going to be really good at that because you are excellent musicians from what I've seen in your extracurriculars. I know some of you are into music. And then there's an audio engineer part that has to know the techno stuff, how to operate the software. So anyhow, why do we point those out? Well, at some point you may want to nudge one of these tracks. And these tracks are all click and draggable, if that's a word. And so therefore, if I wanted to move one a quarter note or an eighth note or one of these other different fractions, then I could easily choose it. And then I could try to nudge one of these to one of those presets. So anyhow, that's kind of why those are up there. Okay, so let me play it back one more time, and hopefully I can change something on the fly here. There is one other thing I wanted to point out with respect to the interface. Along the bottom, okay, you can decide how you want your timeline to look as far as playback. Right now, it's showing as measures. See where it says measures right there? Okay, if you hit this arrow, it's kind of a toggle switch. Now it shows it as time. So this is a little bit more Final Cut friendly for those of us who don't read music as well as others. So instead of saying that my song is a certain number of beats or a certain number of measures, I can say that at this point when this club dance part comes on right here, I'm at 16 seconds and a little bit more of division of a second right here. So as far as the divisions of a second, I'm using my arrows to kind of go through these, and looks like it's just kind of a standard digital playback. I'm used to Final Cut. Maybe you are too. 29.97 frames, and it goes to the next frame, or next second rather. So in our case, if we put our playhead at the end of it, we have a 28-second song. So there are different ways you can view that. Of course, I've got it on time now, but it looks like you've got some other options in here. So again, the music savvy student in here will understand this a little bit better than I will. For me, because I don't do a lot of music, but I do like to create my own. In fact, I had to create my own song for a 30-second commercial I did. I did have to switch this, so I knew that the commercial could not be a frame over 30 seconds. So I had to learn that part of it. So anyhow, those are your interface basics, and you can feel free to tinker with this a little bit. We are going to get into it a little bit more tomorrow with adding our own loops and such. But as long as you understand the interface itself. And I didn't get into the active track, but of course you probably figured out that if you click a track out front, that becomes the active track. And you can tell it's active because the regions themselves inside that track become lit up. So anyhow, that is a very short intro session to the interface, okay? I'm assuming that your interface did look like mine when you first launched it. If not, this is the only other window that I think may have opened up, and that is the information window for an individual track. So having that hidden for now is probably your best option, but that is interface basics. And why don't we go to File and go to Open and open up one of these other songs. We don't need to save changes. It opens up, it looks like it defaults back to the Garageband stuff folder, but take a few minutes and let's open up any one of these other songs. The Eyewitness, the Highway Bound, even though they have different icons, they should all open up in GarageBand. And it's kind of nice for you to take and listen to some of these other. All right, looks like this one's missing a particular track or instrument, whatever. But if you click on skip like I did, you can get your feet wet again with some more of the interface basics. And then I guess listening to other styles of music, you can complete your own, make your own genre of music with GarageBand. And it says this one is kind of a highway bound theme. So if nothing else, in this very short screencast, take a few minutes and then open up several of these pre-made songs in the GarageBand folder and see if you get the feel for kind of what the song says. There's an Alaska Sunrise. Being an 80s guy, I'm kind of curious about this techno 80s song. Other songs, and then using the interface a little bit. And then, like I said, when you're done, head over to Edmodo, and there will be a little check for understanding series of questions. So we'll continue like this as we go along here with GarageBand. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So That's it, sports fans. Hope you enjoyed the screencast.